This show is a production of the Best in Tabletop Network. Be your best in every aspect of your game. Find us wherever you find your podcasts, or check us out on YouTube for more Bat Reps podcasts and shows. If you like what we're doing, you can join our Discord through the Best in Tabletop Patreon group, or our YouTube members only area where you'll get access to our entire library of content. Thank you for listening.
And welcome to episode 18 of 40k Fight Club. This episode is entitled, I can read ITR in the screen, so I'm going to do my best to remember this one. It's called I'd Trade My Leg for a CP.
For some command points, because CP is a little sketchy.
Right, okay. Jeez. If you hadn't pulled it out, nobody would have said anything.
I'm just saying, I wrote out CP, and then I was like, no, and then wrote out command points.
Smart.
So this is episode 18. I'd trade my leg for some command points, which is a reference both to our previous episode and the future that befouls us all. This week we are going to be talking about some of, I think, events happened. I've forgotten all of them, basically, because things got announced today. Or yesterday. Was it today?
It was today.
It got announced on Sunday, but then the first preview started today. Yes, there we go. I understand the linear passage of time.
And it's got a 9 to 5 and just lost his mind.
I am your host, Innes, and I am joined, as always, by Nathan and Anthony. They are going to be my guiding light through the river of mentalness that is me talking at 11 o'clock at night at this point in my life. How are you guys doing? How was your last week been? Let's start with Nathan.
I'm doing fine, Innes. I forgot how uncomfortable these were. And I am regretting
the robes are the questions.
The robes and the questions. So yes, Innes. The robes especially though, because it's like 100 degrees outside, so I'll probably take these off in like 10 minutes. So I don't
just go for
die.
dinosaur hoodie. It's so much more comfortable.
Yeah, except this is how I remind people that I am actually a doctor.
You should take off the other clothes and leave the robes on.
I could, except
that's
all you
for the
see
Christmas
is like
calendar.
Me pulling like clothes out of the robes as I went through the episode. That's for the late at night charity hammer stream for not this weekend, but
I already made the Christmas calendar joke, Nathan. Like, just leave it at that.
No, I also have to.
That's how we're fundraising for dinner at LVO.
I have to show the OnlyFans page. It's just how we got to do things. Otherwise, it's fine. The week is fine. My family came, so I didn't do any 40k stuff. I got a bunch of Tyranids that are on the docket to prep and paint. I'm gonna run right up until like the last moment, printing and basing everything. So we'll see if I die before that happens. May not.
Try not to. I wouldn't recommend it.
Thank you, Innes. I'll do my best. I promise.
I hear it's generally better for you to not die.
Yes, 100%. How about you, Anthony? How was your weekend?
I had a great weekend. I went to the Atlantic City Open, which, despite being on frontline terrain, was a lot of fun. The first 8 games went really well. The last one was a little rough. I got to play one of my buddies, Thomas Ogden, who is an absolute gangster, just crushed the event. He went 9-0 and won it. If I had to lose to anybody that was there in the finals, I'm happy that it was Tom. He's an awesome dude, and it was super fun to play him. But yeah, I did really well. I got second. I was joking with one of my friends that I had 0 nid mirrors going into the event, and the universe looked down at that and went, how about we give you 5 throughout the event so you can get a whole bunch of practice right before you stop playing them for forever.
Well, you have to think about it. If you can beat them with Tyranids, you sure can beat them with Blood Angels, right? Those are about equivalent.
It depends if you ask Tyler or not. The relative power of those factions is not particularly close, but we'll see how it goes. So, yeah, one step at a time. But yeah, so now I have the Best in Tabletop open next week. So this week's going to be a bunch of travel prep again. So getting ready to do that. I'm going to be playing Blood Angels for that and for Charity Hammer, most likely. Unless anything
You
crazy
signed
happens.
a contract. You are playing Blood Angels.
Show me the contract.
You put out the poll.
Me and Anthony are just going to trade armies halfway through the weekend, and nobody will notice.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sure no one
You
will
guys look
notice.
similar.
No, but for real, I'm going to play a bunch of Blood Angels there. I'm going to try and play some other stuff if it is out by then, but we'll see how it goes. But yeah, that was my weekend. How was your weekend, Ines?
Yeah, my last week's been not too bad. Got a hold of some LVO tickets last week, which was quite good. Was that last week? I feel like that might have actually been before last episode, but we didn't say anything about it. Great. I played a bunch of Star Wars Legion, which was really fun. I played some much 4K, which wasn't. God,
You're the
no.
worst. The goddamn worst.
I played a couple of practice games. So I played. I'm practicing for Newcastle GT this weekend, which is 120 something player, 7 rounds down in Newcastle. So I'm taking turns to that one. So I practiced the list for that into Chris's Blood Angels, and we called it on turn 1. And then I played a game with White Scars, which was actually kind of fun in 2000 Suns. Highlight of that game was 6 aggressors acing a full squad of Scarab Cult Terminators, just straight dead. Damage 3. Do enjoy that +1 damage.
Goodbye, idiots.
Yeah, I'm hoping we see some cool secondaries for White Scars, because if they get just the littlest bit of love, I would simp right back into that pile of garbage. So yeah, altogether not too bad. We're off to the as I said, we're off to the Newcastle GT this weekend, and I just bought my plane ticket for WTC, which was good. So that we are all very hyped for. Anthony because he's going, Nathan because he gets to have his own episode.
It's true.
Yeah, I get to have a math episode and watch Anthony somehow die from it while not even being on.
We're gonna sit in Belgium, and I'm gonna make Anthony watch the math episode while we're getting hammered on the Tuesday.
That's gonna be how me and Innes's drunken wrestling match happens.
You have to watch Fight Club. We have to support Nathan.
You can put it on.
I mean, it won't just be
no.
me. Cliff is also going to be on, and probably also Jeremy.
And we'll probably bribe Curie. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get it on the big screen in the bar or something.
Oh, that would be even better. Stream Fight Club for all the WTC people who already know how to math.
Sorry, no. We'll put it on during the hour coaching section.
I was gonna say, imagine running a coaching session at WTC.
We're gonna run a free coaching session. I should email the WTC leadership and be like, so on Tuesday night, I'm gonna be running a Math Hammer episode, and you should all watch it, and it will be free.
So let's do the easy bits. As you might have noticed from the somewhat more long-winded introduction of the show this week, we are going to be doing the thing we normally do when there's a big change in the game, and disregarding everything that ever happened before. So we're not going to be doing a lot of focus on the event results this weekend. We will briefly cover them, mostly to look at the winners and what we're looking at hoping we see change. And then we're going to be diving a little bit into the new previews from Nachmund. We'll be giving our general thoughts on that, what it means for the competitive meta mostly. We've got some listener questions on that one as well. But I am going to do the plugs very quickly. So the first thing I would like to plug is the Patreon. You can check us out at patreon.com/bestintabletop. That is where you'll be able to get access to the Discord, where you can have such lovely conversations as we had in Rumors and News today, like why player plays terrain is terrible and you should all hate it. And why, if you don't play on WTC, you're a traitor to your country. Especially in America. If your event is not playing on WTC terrain in America, you don't love America enough because you're not helping your team practice. That is gospel truth. You can also check us out at youtube.com/c/bestintabletop, where you'll be able to become a subscriber, which will get you access to the bonus round of the 40K Fight Club show, as well as the second half of a bunch of other shows like Chasing the Narrative, the rest of the battle reports, and other shows. And that is a really good way to get a lot more content. So depending on what kind of aspect you want to go to supporting us, talking to us, or watching more of us, there's an option for everybody. Finally, drop a like, drop a comment, drop a subscription if you can. I realize all of those are free and you should do all of them anyway. If you're listening on a podcast app, drop us a review. It really helps us out with getting noticed by even more people. We are the #1 watch show on the network, and we would like to stay there because, frankly, I need the bragging rights. It's all I have.
You get what you get. And sometimes it's bragging rights.
So that is the plugging section. We are going to dive head first into stats of the week with Nathan. So this is our gotta have your medicine before we get to the fun bits. Sorry, Nathan. Sorry. We're going to go through the stats of the week so that we can see the meta that we are leaving behind.
Yes, it's true. We get to watch this meta sail off into the sunset and probably not change at all. So I'm going to be really honest.
Change. It's going to change a lot. I hope. I need it to emotionally.
It's good that you have fervent hopes, but I wouldn't bet the farm on it, NS. To use
Nathan has stared deep into the numbers and he still sees Harlequins.
Yeah, it's not untrue. So just look at the weekend win rate data, and then we'll go into the top fours and overrepresentation so we can just kind of have a fun chat about this miserable meta and then move into the even more fun chat of our miserable rumor mill. Tyranids were number one again this weekend with a 69% win rate. They made up 10% of the meta. Craft World's right behind them at 62.7%. And then a totally dead faction is at 60.3%. That's Harlequins for all of you people who aren't aware. Drukari are just behind Harlequins by 0.5%. They're at 60%. Custodes are right behind them at 56%. Eldari, which is Eldar Soup, is at 51%. And the most intriguing thing, although it's sub 10 players, is that Imperium somehow managed to pull a 50% win rate out of somewhere, and I don't really know where. We'll find out where later. Tower still doing okay. They're at 52. And then Grey Knights are at 51. Otherwise, Knights kind of did a little bit better this weekend. Not in win rate, but in overall like pole positioning and in tournament data. But Chaos Knights ended up with a 50.2. And then Imperial Knights were at a 43. The win rate's not good, but they seem to be doing okay, generally speaking, in tournament results, actually. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Otherwise, again, at the bottom this week, we have Astra Militarum at a 32.8% win rate. So hopefully new secondaries, CP changes, or a new book comes along soon to help out.
Maybe all of those things.
Maybe all of them. But yeah, Adeptus Mechanicus did get pulled out of the doldrums of the 30-ish percentiles by being brought up to 46.1 this weekend.
Which is pretty reasonable in Hell Meta.
Yeah, it's not bad in the Hell Meta. And then real quick, we'll go through the 25 plus player 5 plus round data that Curie and I pull from BCP and other places in order to put together our weekly tournament results. Tyranids took 27 top 10s, 13 top 4s, and 1 2 events this weekend. So they're not converting as well, but they're still basically dominating the top 10s. There are a couple events here that are basically one faction and then just Tyranids. And it's something to see. They're at a representation ratio of 2.76, so just closing in on 3, which has been the story for basically the last 3 weeks, so it hasn't really changed all that much. So Tyranids broken. Tau actually probably the best performing faction overall from a tournament standing standpoint and converting those tournament people going into top 10s into actual GT wins. There were 13 top 10 Tau lists, 6 top 4s, and then 3 GT winners. So they won the most GTs of the weekend. So Tau are not, in fact, dead and are doing probably okay. They're at a 1.7 for overrep, so almost 2 times more represented than they should be. Craft World sneaking in behind. They had 12, 6, and then 1 GT win, and they're at a 2.38 for overrepresentation. And then there's like a little cliff before we grab the agglomerated Space Marines data together. Space Marines had 9 top 10s, 5 top 4s, and actually 1 2 GTs this weekend. But they're still at an overrep of only 0.70. So they're still underrepresented in the meta, considering that they make up about 16.2% of it.
That's your boy Sam, Anthony.
Yeah, it is. Get him, Sam.
It is actually. I saw the Blood Angels data and I actually felt bad as I was doing it. I'm like, sorry, Sam, I'm folding you in with everybody else.
Look, Sam, it's you and Stephen Box and people, but
there was
those people sure do make you look bad.
Yeah,
I think it was Iron Hands or Space Wolves and Blood Angels were the 2 GT winners. I'd have to go back through it and check again. So it's something. Sisters are still managing to do okay. They had 5 top 10s and 3 top 4s. They're actually at a 1.85 over rep, so they're almost at a 2 times represented in the tournament like standings. And then Drukhari, despite some people thinking they're dead, are at a 2.55 over rep. They actually won a GT over the weekend. They took
Almost
5 top
overrepresented as
10s, 2
Tyranids.
top 4s, and 1 GT win. And then Imperial Knights, I did say Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights did a little bit better than they seemed to be doing. Based on win rate alone, 5 Imperial Knights players made it into the top 10, 2 made it into the top 4, and 1 won a GT this weekend. We actually started to see Imperial Knights start to place. They're actually a little underrepresented. They're at 0.76 for their ratio. And then Chaos Knights didn't make any top 4s, so they have a 0 for their ratio. Sorry, Chaos Knights players. But this is also why when you look at these weekly results, it's important to go not just with win rate, but also to look at how people place within tournaments and to see how that translates into like how often they're placing versus their actual meta representation. Because you can see there that despite like a 40-ish percentage win rate, Imperial Knights are doing kind of okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of, in 40k stats, there's a lot of noise that comes in from players who aren't going to GTs with the intent of, smashing it. There's other people who, they're going along to the GT because they want to get out away for the weekend. They bring, a four Imperial Knights list, just smash it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it does make the stats change a little bit when we're working with the numbers we have. So you always have to remember that when you're looking at any context. And Knights are an army that's particularly prone to that because they are I always want to put 4 models in the army and drink more beer than my weight. Never done that 100%. Before.
I was going to say, it sounds like you have experience with that, Innes.
No, not at all.
Innes has definitely never done that. Never, ever.
No, never once. It wasn't beer.
Gitly Gaming in the chat makes an interesting point / question where Tyranid player hopes meta changes ... question mark. And actually, I think all 3 of us Tyranid players hope that the meta changes and kind of opens up a little bit because we're a little exhausted of seeing a bug and then a cliff to the next faction, which is usually Tower Craft Worlds, and then another cliff to the third tier of factions. It's kind of annoying.
I like winning games, but I also like having to work for it at least a little bit.
I said multiple times this weekend, I cannot wait to be free from this fucking chitin prison.
I'm actually very excited to paint Imperial Guard and play some like normal NPCs on the table instead of Tyranids.
Yeah, partially because everyone else leaves and I can just stay alone with my bugs.
Well, I'll still have 4,000 points of painted Tyranids by the time Charity Hammer rolls around, so I might just rotate back once people depart.
Oh, they're not going to be that bad. There's no way they kill it in one go.
It's going to take more than one punch.
No.
And if
we have like 6 builds waiting to just be like, yeah, they're not as good as Leviathan stuff or Kraken stuff, but they're not bad.
I mean, I'm bringing one to Charity Hammer for funsies, so we'll see how it goes.
Don't tell anybody about Kronos. We're working really hard.
You are the one who just told them about it.
You idiot.
Yeah, it's because I want everybody to go play Kronos so that I can play other stuff.
I mean, I can play whatever I want in this. Maybe I'll play Leviathan with all this stupid nonsense that I put in my bag anyways.
Literally, the day the book dropped, me and Innes were looking at custom Hive Fleet stuff, and then we stopped and then never went back for a bit. But, like, y'all gotta keep your head on a swivel if you think Nids is done after Leviathan goes.
No.
Yeah. They're gonna hit all the obvious stuff, and then we have, like, 15 things that are all problems in that codex.
Yeah.
That codex is not okay.
Deep. The codex is deep, and people don't realize that there's like plenty of other stuff. You've seen some of it place in events, right? Because you've seen Hormagaunts like speed builds perform okay.
Yeah,
with
we
Turbogon
saw
support.
Yep, we saw the who was it? Mike Costello's Hydra list. Yep. We've seen Eric Latharus's all Jormungandr 15 Zoanthropes list.
Yeah. I want to see that list some more because Eric Latharus is a madman for bringing 15 Zoanthropes to things, and I want to see how it works.
No one except Eric should play what Eric plays. I feel like I have to put this out there now, or someone's going to try it and be really sad that it wasn't what they expected.
No. You should all go out and play 15 Zoanthropes.
Try it at an RTT, not at the Chicago Open. An RTT guy.
You should play Anthony with that on his buddy and just make him cry as he can't stop +5 to cast smites.
I'll kill those nerds.
That's when chain swords
I'm not afraid of them.
Actually are what you want. The one time you want chain swords the mostest is going into 15 Zoanthropes.
I got plenty.
Anyway, yeah, no, the Tyranids book is a hell pit of Drukhari proportions. Although the Claude Feeds rumor is true, maybe the Drukhari book is a Drukhari hell book.
Bro, you
If
could make Claude Fiends free and they wouldn't be that good.
My man, there are 10 points for 5 wounds. If they go down, they're 10 points for 4 wounds.
They
I don't
have
care
power
what
for
the
Dan,
rest
they
of
just
the day is.
die.
Not behind a wall, they don't.
They get +1
You
to
go play
their
against all that
save from
power-
ignore
all that
LOS,
power
LOS
burst.
weapons, and then +2 to their save from cover. I want to spend all my CP keeping Claude Fiends alive just to annoy Anthony and give him a migraine. Apparently,
you used to run the Court of the Archon just because it had a wound count that was high, right?
But it had an invulnerable save.
Right, okay, but what if you traded out the invulnerable save for being 180 points and having 72 wounds instead? It's better.
at T5 instead of T3.
Anyway, for context, the rumor there is a terrible rumor going around that Claude Fiends are going down 15 points from 25 to 10, and Claude Fiends are toughness 5 with 4 wounds. It's like seems a little cheap given a like an orc boy is 9, but
Why you gotta make me and orc players upset just at the same time?
I actually posted about that in the Best in Tabletop Network Discord if people want to see it. As I was like, man, Orc Boy's real sad. They are 1 point less than a T5 4 wound.
That is messed up. That's
5
not
attack, AP 2 damage, 2 monster.
hey, beast.
Beast
They can beat
size.
the walls.
Monster in the monstrous sense, not in the keyword sense.
You're monstrous in the monster sense.
Got him.
Put your legs away.
Yeah.
Look, I'm really flexible if those are my legs.
And the fact that you got 4 of them belies your intent.
Yeah.
Anyway, stats.
Oh, wow. That's actually it for stats this week. I'm not going to talk about more stats
okay.
unless somebody in chat has a burning question about stats in the next, 2 seconds.
Burning question.
Sure.
What's Halo Doom's win rate compared to regular Eldar again?
You're going to make me pull up the tableau again? Because I will.
Every week, I have to know. Ulthway, Hail of Doom, generic Eldar.
And I'm pulling up the tableau.
Oh, man. It's
In
so
case
mean every
everybody-
week. It borders
in
on
case
bullying
everybody-
every time.
In case
They
people
need to
want
know.
to look at the tableau, this is just considering the Knights meta, so post Chaos and Imperial Knights release. Hail of Doom Masterful Shots is at 61%. Hail of Doom Children of Prophecy is at 60%. Hail of Doom Warding Runes is 57%. Children of Prophecy Masterful Shots is somehow 67%.
Because
Sorry,
they
I
played
got-
3 games.
It's 9.
It's the same thing.
Another Hail of Doom, but this time Children of Prophecy at 67%. And then I don't give a shit.
Was that Ulthway?
No, it was Masterful Shots Webway Warriors, which is at an 80% win rate on 5 games. I actually don't give a shit
Hell
about
yeah.
Ulthway because Ulthway is a 48% win rate. Fuck those guys.
Every week I set it up, and every week the stats are just there for the home run.
Oh,
Somebody did have a
man.
good question, actually. What's the Tau win rate versus Nids at the moment?
1-0, baby.
Tyranids win 60% of their games into Craft World Eldar. It's not broken down by sub-faction, though.
That's fine. What about Tau, though? The question that was asked.
I thought it was... Oh, man. It's 57% for Tyranids into Tau, which also doesn't have sub-faction data.
What is Space Marine's generic win rate? Is it above 35% after armor of contempt?
Space Marine's generic win rate. I can actually...
I definitely read that as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez as well, but...
You do it every time.
Making me pop between multiple different screens at the same time. Space Marine's generic win rate is 42.6% for the weekend.
That's above 35, baby.
And
it's basically 50-50 once you exclude their running into Tau, Eldar, Custodes, Drakari, Imperial Knights, Chaos Knights, Sisters of Battle, and the Mirror.
You want to make me do this? This is what you want to
No, I'm making a joke, Nathan. It's okay.
Why?
that one was a joke. It's fine. You don't have to respond to everything I say.
I mean, I do. I just have this need to correct and respond to every comment on the internet. As Anthony learned today when he tagged me in something and I ended up dragged into a conversation about why long-term win rates are meaningful as compared to just representation in top 10s.
Got him.
Where was that? I missed that.
In the Art of War Discord.
Oh, thank God for that. I don't read that one.
It's probably for the best. mostly scum and villainy, like Mos Eisley.
That's true.
I was mostly wondering why Anthony tagged me randomly, and it was to ring the stats bell for me to come say stats at somebody.
Ding.
Ding, 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 ding.
Anthony
Tell
knows
this man he's wrong.
Anthony knows I have an uncontrollable urge to correct people on the internet with numbers.
That's true.
Anyway, let's move on to tournaments of the week. So somehow we have 9 events. We are going to very, very briefly touch on all of them because it is we want the winners to feel seen because we want you to keep going to tournaments. So let's go in a little bit. Let's go in reverse size order this week. So let's start with the Bembel Clash number 3 in Herzenheim, Germany, and this was one of the ones that was won by Iron Hands. And
We'll go for it, Ines.
Somebody's fill time for me, guys.
I'll have it up in like 2 seconds. All right, I've got it up.
Me too. Okay, cool.
Florian
Perfect.
Schmidt won the
So
event with Iron Hands. The list is a custom chapter, Iron Hands Successor with Master Artisans and Whirlwind of Rage. Isn't that one pocket hit or wound reroll?
Just hit, and then Exploding Sixes on the charge.
The
And then they brought
both.
They brought a Calexis Assassin. That's kind of neat. And then they
Nathan,
have...
you're missing the whole Cliff Notes thing.
I was just pulling out that they have a Calexis Assassin because that's kind of neat. Otherwise, it's some Infiltrators and Incursors, 15 Vanguard Veterans, and Devastators.
Average,
Yeah, there's nothing.
Okay, so someone read Ficini's list and was like, I can play that too. And
For Chini's list.
For 20.
For Chini's list?
Anyway, guys, raise that banner and always remember to lose the Grey Knights.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I can't help the in jokes. We keep getting every time we do this, we get told to stop doing it, and I can't help it because
just explain who Fortini is and be done with it.
Okay, so Fortini is Nassim Foucain, who is a UK player who is known for playing Iron Hands and only Iron Hands, and went through this notorious period where he would just score any game he won, he would score 100 points no matter what. Because he always took raised banners so that he could always score 100 points when he tabled his opponent at turn 3. And then he'd lose the most random games to anything he wanted. But if he won, it was like 99 or 100 every time.
Yep.
So anyway, and one of the Discords we can have a banner that's just an Iron Hands guy pointing like this and going, raise that banner.
Yeah. And the name of the emote is Fortini.
Because he always goes 4-1.
Yep.
All right.
That is the deep lore.
Now that you've explained the deep secrets of 40k lore,
yeah.
What's the next event?
I don't know, but every week I'm going to explain a different emoji from Warp Time. Okay.
Good. It's going to be a little rough when we get to clocked, but I guess we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Next up, we have the Pecking Order GT, which was won by Oathway, so we're skipping it because it doesn't fit my narrative.
Can we I'll just do it real quick. Sweet Summer Child.
I'll do it quickly. Pecking Order, Sweet Summer Child GT, Seer Council, Eldrad, Howling Banshees, Double Fire Prism, bunch of melee bollocks, and then like 3 squads of Wind Riders. Yeah.
Cool.
This single-handedly probably saved Oathway from having a 7% win rate this weekend. So congratulations to Hank.
A list that would be better as Hail of Doom.
97% of the list of the game would be better as Hail of Doom. So that's not
really
really
going to
saying
make a
much.
joke about Oathway winning a GT called My Sweet Summer Child or whatever it's called, or we just let that slide?
It is pretty good because it is also a pointed piece of advice at the winner.
Yeah.
It's true.
Oh, My Sweet Summer Child. This would not work in a bigger event.
Yeah.
A real event outside of your soft local meta.
Got him! Bam!
Well done to Hank for winning an event in the homelands of Best in Faction, where the meta is soft and the summer is warm and gentle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like 60 degrees Fahrenheit there right now, so it is quite gentle.
Okay, next up we have the Northwest GT, just to make me sad, which was won by Mike Porter of Thousand Suns playing Fame. He's playing. It's got 20 Scarab Cults in it.
Nice.
That sounds accurate.
Vic VJ came second with Sisters. Good for him.
Sister's not dead?
No, I hope he's playing them next weekend at Newcastle. He's not. But
more confusingly, Vic not playing Hell?
No, he's playing it in Newcastle, but I think he was just taking a weekend off to have like fun.
Oh,
There's actually 2 Sisters players in the top 4 of this event, which is kind of
There
neat.
was.
what?
Okay, Anthony, would you like to run us through the Grinning Demon Series GT because this is your boy?
Give me 1 second to open it, and then I'll do that.
You could have
Oh my
like been
gosh.
prepared in any way, shape, or form before we started on this.
Listen, if I had show notes that pointed me to being the one reading this, I'd have been on that like white on rice, boss.
How did you not figure out that the one that had
You
blood
mean
angels
like
was
Innis,
you doing it?
Innis on rice? Is that what you're talking about? Because
Yeah, like Innis on rice.
Innis, that hand was like translucent.
Yeah,
Should I- okay, is this where I tell the bean
Awful with
story?
your wall paint.
Yeah, you should tell the
Is this
bean
where I tell the
story
bean
while we
story?
wait for Anthony to pull up the
So,
tournament.
I don't like baked beans, and if you don't know what baked beans are, they're basically beans in tomato sauce that is for some reason a meal served in the UK. But I really don't like them. The smell makes me gag. And I was in the office today, and we just randomly started talking about things that made my manager uncomfortable. She was like, "Yeah, so whenever I'm annoying my friend, she just sends me links to this Facebook group, which is beans in thing, like it's beans in places where they're not supposed to be, or something like that." And it's just on Facebook. You can probably find it. And it's like beans in weird places, I think it's called. And it's just pictures of beans, like a dude with a snorkel and mask, but it's just full of beans, or beans that are like made into coasters. And I was just kind of flicking through that, like not enjoying myself in the slightest. And then I put my phone down, and they started talking about other ones they've seen. And it's like, yeah, so there was this guy who had his Uggs, and they were just full of baked beans. And I took it, I stood up, walked out of the office, walked to the little grass room of the office, and puked my guts out in the middle of the workday because the
gosh,
idea
yes.
of beans just got to me that much.
Oh, Innis.
You need help, bro.
We need to figure out where this actually comes from psychologically for
Like,
you.
I wasn't even looking at a picture of beans at the time. It was just the mental image of beans inside someone's Crocs and then putting your feet into it made me go and puke.
All right. Well, I know what to keep near me at all times at WTC, I guess.
Just a picture of Crocs with beans in them.
Yeah.
No, you have to be wearing
Should
them.
make that you have to make that the objective markers for your table actually is people's feet inside of Crocs full of beans.
That would be
Powerful.
strong.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure if 2 Days to Wargaming will do that for you, but you know.
Yeah.
There are probably
Alright.
some companies on Etsy that would do it for you.
Let's move on to the Grin Demon Series
Welcome.
GT.
All right. My boy Sam won this. He was playing some Blood Angels. He played just a ton of Sanguinary Guard. He put some scouts in a storm. He took some eliminators, took some eradicators still. We talked about those, and he was like, I don't really like them. And then he took them again anyway. What a hero.
Blood Angels with a bunch more tech choices instead of just pure Sanguinary Garden characters.
Pretty much. I mean, he's got Death Company in it and stuff too. He's got like a librarian with Null Zone, which is pretty uncommon. Most people won't run that because of War the Witch is hot. And Null Zone is often sad if your opponent pulls out of it. There is no worse experience than landing the charge with your Null Zone man and then charging with something else. Then your opponent's like, nice, and pulls out of the Null Zone and starts taking saves. Depressing.
It's pretty sad.
So, yep, that was it. Good job, Sam. Great work.
Well done, Sam.
You should be on Team Canada's front line for their playing and their trolling, not having you there.
Shout out to Curie, who went 4 and something at this tournament.
Curie went... I was looking for the wrong name. Curie went 4-2, I think.
Well done, Curie. Proud of you.
Yeah. Woo!
You have a better win rate than Oathway.
It's true. You got 12.
with a by far worse codex.
That's true.
Okay. Next up, we have the Branson Brawl, which, no, I'm not going to make a bad joke about that. That's fine. Which was won by... This was the Imperial Knights one. Cool.
Oh.
So, Imperial Knights, the Branson Brawl was in the US of A. There we go. This was won by House Tyranids. We got 2 Hellruns, 2 Warglaves, a Crusader, an Errant, and a Paladin. They have more upgrades than I have time.
Sounds like an Imperial Knights list to me.
Notably, I will say, Richard Smith winning this one with 393 total battle points, which is fairly impressive. Like, that's some low-scoring victories. Like 80 points is not a big win. So yeah,
He scored fewer points than the second place person who tied.
And the third place player who scored 410.
Who I'm assuming tied the second place player.
Yep. He actually has the lowest battle points until the guy in 10th. So
good on you, Richard Smith.
Just kept winning.
Just keep winning. It's fine. As long as you keep winning, it doesn't have to stop. Okay, Next up we have the Curtonian Total Carnage. This was won by Drakari. This was in England. I have to spell Curtonian now.
You have to spell Curtonian?
Well, I had to search it on BCP.
Oh my gosh.
And this was won by George McCullough on Drakari.
From the Real Space Raiders podcast.
A Court of the Archon. Oh, this is it's a real space, right? Really on theme there.
On brand.
It's actually required. We have a Court of the Archon, the 3 characters you have to take, so an Archon, a Homunculus, and a Succubus. 3 squads of Rax, a squad of Kabalite Trueborn, and a squad of Hemocytes. One of the squads of Rax is a squad of Hemocytes and a squad of Witches. 2 big squads of Grotesques. Those look like 4-mans. 2 squads of Incubi, a squad of Reavers, 2 Ravagers, a Raider, and 3 Venoms. I feel like I should keep reading for another couple of, another detachment for a Drakari list.
Yep. Nope. Not anymore.
Just the 1 battalion.
It really feels like that list should have another detachment, like a bunch of stuff in it, or like Drazar and 10 more Incubi or something like that. But those points finally started to add up on Drakari, and it actually looks like a normal list now.
It's sad how the mighty have fallen.
It's sad that they look normal. James McLean also went 5-0 at this one with a High Fleet Leviathan list, which is, I'm going to guess,
that was how we got a Drakari event win.
Scored more points than the Leviathan guy.
There was 2 undefeateds, and he didn't get to the Leviathan guy.
Like 23 warriors or something like that, Leviathan spam.
Yeah, that was fairness.
George scored 490 battle points, and James scored 425. So power to George, and well done on there not being a 6th round.
Good job.
Yikes.
Okay, War Games for Warriors in Utah was won by Tyranids, so I don't really care, but let's have a look anyway.
No.
Ugh.
All right, taking bets. What are we calling? Kraken, Double Harpy, Leviathan, or Warrior Spam Leviathan? Or
Leviathan.
He was in Utah, so it's probably like Jormungandr.
It's Jormungandr 15 zoanthropes.
Is it?
Okay, no, I don't know.
Oh,
so McKay Griffin is playing Leviathan.
No.
Double Harpy.
There it is.
Double Harpy, Double Tyrant. The dullest archetype.
Myself.
It's the archetype I play, but it's the dullest archetype.
Yeah.
Is he running a Pyropod? At least run a Pyrovore pod. Come on. Let me be proud of you.
Remus, I'm going to run a Pyropod at the Open this weekend.
I'm so proud of you. He does have 3 Biovores, though. That's at least cool.
I played a dude with a Pyropod at ACO, but he had 3 individual Pyros in there.
I like 3x2 because you get more chances at charges, but it's also really hard to get 3 Pyrovores out of that pod in a place where they can charge.
It's hard to get them out because their bases are so freaking huge.
Yeah, you get like 3/4 to 1/4 of an inch of gap around, and you really need to build your Tyrannocyte in the down position.
Yeah. He was not super enthused about charging into my Tyrants, which were basically the only thing those idiots were charging into based on their position.
This is why you should run This is why Secret Tech, you should run 9 Gorgon Pyrovores, because if you play into other Tyranids, they just die to poison 4+ Pyrovores.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess.
It's real bad for Leviathan when the Pyrovores pop out and go right. All right, so that's going to be 4.5 d6 damage 2 saves on that Tyrant.
Yeah, that's bad. That's not ideal.
Yeah, your Tyrant's just there like, oh, I have to take how many? 20? 20 damage 2 saves? Oh my days.
If it didn't, if it worked on vehicles, it'd be worth.
Yeah, but vehicles aren't real. You just beat vehicles by running Biovores. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Okay.
Vehicles aren't real.
Vehicles are not real. Vehicles have never even once been real. We have Terracon in the Great Land of Oz, which was won by Tau. Everybody crisis suits. Come on, push your bets, push your bets, push your bets.
18.
16.
I just searched Tywin BCP. That's not how that worked.
No, it's not.
That is not how
Can
any
do
of that works.
It just won't work the way you want it to.
Okay, this was won by Adam Napier, who was playing 548 battle points. We have got Commander in Cold Star, Ethereal, Long Strike, a 3-man Crisis Squad, a 10-man Crisis Squad, a 10-man Crisis Squad.
What?
No, 5-man, 2 5-mans.
Oh, okay.
2 5-mans, 10 Crisis, 2 5-mans.
Dude,
so 13 in Shadowstone.
I was gonna say 10-man Crisis Squads. When did that happen?
Sounds horrifying.
Do
Do you remember Nines? Do you remember Nines with like 17 airbursts and the unkillable guy who was like actually unkillable by 8th edition standards?
They should just remove the upper limit. They should you can take a squad of 40 if you want.
No squad should have size limits.
That's right.
And we'll just run 400-man warrior squads.
400-man warriors. One advance roll a turn.
You could run a 50-man warrior squad for 1,250 points.
You would.
Innis
You
definitely
wouldn't even think about it.
That.
You'd definitely be like, I could put Catalyst on this.
Yeah.
Catalyst and the Swarmlord and just start split firing, bro.
Bro, it's only 2 CP to make the -1 damage then. Whatever.
What would be
That's when you get your first 6 CP
what would be the most
stratagem.
ridiculous thing you can think of with no upper limit on squad sizes? Assuming like anything
Talos?
that's one model caps at 1 still.
Oh. Talos?
Yeah,
Would you
can
get that much
imagine
out of
Soul
having, like,
Siphoning
20 Talos?
a 20 Talos unit? Soul Siphon all 5th turn.
Well, you'd play the Army of Renown as well, but
yeah, get the 4-up Feel No Pain on a unit of 10 Chrono Talos.
Yes.
That unit never dies. It charges and kills everything in the game and just doesn't die.
Yes.
yeah, that would be quite a lot.
Sanguinary Guard would also be fun. Just take like a 40-man.
It seems so unnecessary.
40-man brick of sanguine. It all deep strikes 9 inches away and gets over an 8-inch rerollable charge.
It'd be a 7. That army you would take the chaplain in.
45 White Scars Flamestorm Aggressors.
Yeah, that's not great.
Okay, so I'm going to put adaptive strategy on these guys turn 1. And we're going to see what happens, bro.
A part of me just wants to run a unit of like 400 Hormagaunts, and then you can pop the advance in charge stratagem and have them in Gorgon so they auto wound everything on 4s.
The answer is Dark Techno Chronos.
Oh, yeah. I mean, original Dark Techno Chronos.
Just right now.
New
works
one,
on
yeah.
them. Yeah.
There you go.
I had one. Shit.
I do think the Hormagaunts coming up and being able to move 6 inches pregame and then bounding advance and then just like hurtle their whole asses across the field. Just a line of 200 Hormagaunts hitting you all at once with Chapter Master rerolls from Swarm.
I'll raise you 1,800 point squad of Deathwatch veterans with Aquila kill team.
All right,
I'm going to spend 3 CP and kill your army.
Where's the next competitive event in this?
Don't care.
I know, but we need to
right.
we need to finish.
We don't have to technically.
I know we don't have to, but we probably should.
Okay, so the US Open and the Latin City Open are both super majors, so we'll go through the top 4 for these ones. Actually, we're not, because I don't know how to do the top 4 for US Open San Diego, and I don't want to insult people, so we'll do the top 2. So US Open San Diego was a Games Workshop event, which means it used something that kind of resembled terrain.
Sure, wait, the GW train is fine. It's the meta there that
don't lie to yourself.
The GW train's fine. I've played on that and WTC now. I actually don't have a preference between the two. Anything that isn't player place frontline train is great.
It looks like Tau won this. I just can't tell anymore.
Yep, Matthew Geyer won this one with Tau. This was
probably 18 crisis.
Tau Sept. 18 crisis suits and Shadow Song.
Shocking.
Look at that.
And
I'm so surprised.
A single hammerhead and long strike.
And people are somehow surprised that crisis suits are getting nerfed all the way into the dirt.
No,
Okay.
they should go further.
Put them in the mantle instead of the dirt.
Yeah.
Like,
Where do you want them to go?
Hit bedrock and keep
Yeah.
digging in this
Yeah.
until they find Scotland around the 5th circle of hell or something like that.
Just had a friend message me. What the F are you wearing? This is a dinosaur hoodie.
Oh, that hoodie's the best. That's been on so many
It is.
times.
Yeah, the fact that you've
It's
not
true.
seen this means that you don't know your Deep Fight Club lore. And
Right.
I'm
Deep
ashamed.
Fight Club lore.
Look, man, we don't have a wiki page yet. If somebody wants to get on that, like, I'd be down for that.
Yeah, get it done.
Like, you could definitely get a solid Wikimedia, like a Wikipedia out of this.
Yeah, you get paid just as much as we do.
Jesus, Anthony. Anyway, my man Cooper Waddle in second, running the 5 Venom Cannon card effects of my dreams.
Oh, what a hero. I played against 8 of those this weekend, by the way.
They're not bad, are they?
8 on frontline terrain in Dawn is terrifying.
It's almost as much shooting as 2 harpies.
He had those too. He had 2 harpies and 8 card effects, and he went first. And I was like, oh no, I'm gonna lose.
So many Venom Cannon shots. Oh god.
It wasn't good.
That's a lot of Venom cannons.
And
Yeah.
a squad of Venom tropes to go with them as well. Oh, it's a
Yeah, why
man
not?
after my heart.
Yeah.
A man
It was
after
brutal, dude.
my heart. Okay, and finally we have the Atlantic City Open. Anthony, would you like to take us away?
I guess I can do that. In first place was Thomas Ogden playing what I have now. The best explanation for this I've seen is that this is the most American list possible. He strapped as many guns as he could to the fastest moving thing he could find. He moves them right into your face and shoots you with them all. And having played against it now, he really does that. And you kind of just die, and that's the life.
Have you considered trying not dying to it?
I did, but I was too exhausted by the time we played to execute on that plan, so I died to it instead.
Fair. Cool. Talk us through it.
Oh, my internet died there. Are you still with me? Hello?
We're still with you.
We're still with you.
Okay. What'd you say?
Do you want to talk us through Ogden's list?
I'm opening it for...
Oh my god.
Okay. There was also an event on Down Under Pairings this week, wasn't there?
Yeah, but we're not going to cover it because it's on Down Under Pairings.
Yeah,
That seems like a terrible reason.
Yeah, but means you have to navigate Down Under Pairings, which is
That's more of what it is than anything else.
Alrighty.
I'll see if I can find it quickly.
I got the thing. Mr. Ogden played Tausept. He had a Crisis Commander, an Enforcer Commander, 2 individual broadsides, Long Strike, like 15, 18 Crisis, an Ethereal, and Shadow Sun. Whee! Oh no, sorry, it was a Cold Star and a Crisis, not a Crisis and an Enforcer. Man knows what he's about, and what he's about is going fast and shooting you just a ton.
It works.
Guys,
How about your
certainly a
list,
choice.
Anthony? Tell us
My
about
list?
your list.
It's Warrior
Oh.
Spam Leviathan, double Tyrant. Who cares?
It's not Warrior Spam. I have 1 unit of 9.
That's Warrior Spam. As a person who runs 2 units of 3 because I need the link.
Not spam? The link? The what?
The imperative. All I need is the imperative. Like everything
Yeah,
else
it's not a
doesn't matter.
link, though, is it?
It's basically a link. I'm going
goes
to call them a
through
link because
the
I'm an
link.
OG Tyranid player, you fucking shambles.
Oh my gosh, Innes. I have models older than you.
Me too.
I'm sure he does also, yeah.
My card effects are lead.
I had
And our
people ask
very
me-
helpful Alex Toe sent me the event, actually.
Oh, did he? Cool.
What a
You
hero.
can cover it.
I had people ask me all weekend while I was playing Raveners and Leviathan. They still move 12 on Leviathan, guys. It's okay. They're still really good.
Yeah, people need to chill on that one. Like, Raveners are not good for other reasons, not just because they're in Leviathan lists.
Yeah. Get it together.
Yep. All right, so the event that's on Down Under Pairings, I think, is ValleyCon 2022. I think that's correct. And it looks like it was won by Hamish Reeve with
Good name.
Leviathan. Yeah, Hamish.
Sad
With
list.
a Leviathan list with, can you
Double
guess what
Tyrant
it
and
has
Harpy.
in it?
Double Harpy, double Tyrant.
Double Harpy, double Tyrant with an Exocrine with Voracious Ammunition,
Ooh, fancy.
and a 9 Man of Warriors.
It's good of him to be practicing for when he's down 200 points after chapter approved.
Right.
True. You just pull that whole exocrine out.
Yeah, he just leaves, but he keeps going.
You pull the exocrine out, the list doesn't change after that.
Nobody has noticed any change. It's just
Yeah.
like how Anthony's just going to pull out those Raveners in the Maliceptor.
Yep.
Just the
I'm just
Maliceptor,
pulling.
just the
I'm just pulling the
Maliceptor.
Maliceptor
Yeah.
out.
I'm
It's
also-
a little more than just a Maliceptor, sadly.
Just never playing the list again. So
That too. Yeah, my Maliceptor is on shore leave.
yeah.
She did
I have
well.
to base him because I'm bringing him to the open, but then he immediately goes back in my bag, and then never comes out of the bag ever again.
Maliceptor becomes Turvagon.
Actually, I'm bringing a Turvagon. He's right here.
She.
Come on.
I mean,
All
it's a
Tyranids are
they.
she's except the Swarm
It's
Lord, I
a
think.
it's a they. I don't think that Tyranids have a gender identity, so we shouldn't
They
misgender
kind
the
of do.
Tyranids.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Or
don't
is
think
that-
any of the Tyranids can reproduce except the Turvagon.
Isn't that in like kind of implied that it's put on them by the
No,
Imperial?
Parasite and Mortrex can definitely reproduce.
Yeah, but it doesn't reproduce so much as it lays rippers in people.
That's reproducing by a certain frame of view.
Yeah.
You've seen Alien, right?
All right. Do we want to talk about parasitic life cycles? Because we can talk about that if you want. I can have this conversation with you.
No, we don't need to talk about the network. It's fine.
We are going to get so many angry messages from administrators for our network. And they're all going to come to me because I am somehow the responsible one for you two idiots.
Me and Innes can't be tamed. We knew what they signed up for.
Okay, composure.
Hold together.
Let's
Be
talk
adults.
about chapter approved.
No, let's take a break first. Let's take our 9-minute break so I can go microwave some tea.
What?
Okay,
Why
we're
do you
gonna
like
take
that?
we're gonna take a 5-minute break during the main show this time. So
Yes.
Nathan's gonna go make tea, and I'm gonna do a quick plugs, and then we'll come
God.
back. We are.
Disappointed.
This is not the end of the main show. We are still going to be running for another 40 minutes or so on the main show, but Nathan is going to go grab a drink, so I am going to take this opportunity to do the shilling. So the first thing I need to remind you all about is Charity Hammer, which is running from this weekend, I believe, is when it starts for the Best in Tabletop Open, which is the GT/Major that Colin is running. That'll be doing live stream coverage, I believe, this weekend. And then after that, there will be the main of Charity Hammer event. You can check out the donation link to that in the description. There is a raffle. There's going to be streaming for I think it's 3 streams for the full weekend. I will hopefully at some point remember to sign up to do some commentary for that one. So I will try and chime in a little bit so you can hear more of my wonderful, wonderful dulcet tones. Yeah, so Charity Hammer, check it out. Nathan knows this real better than I do, unfortunately. I keep forgetting to read the brief. What I can also do is I can recommend that you check us out on all of the places. So you can check us out on Patreon, you can check us out on YouTube. Both the links for there are around. But if you are interested in hearing more content from us, what you can also do is tune into the live stream. And the live stream is every week at 11 p.m. GMT. And I believe that's 3 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m., whatever time zone Anthony's in, 5 p.m., whatever time Nathan's in. That sounds about
Central
right.
Standard Time.
That's the one. I'm going to hope for the best. Yeah, so that is all. That's all the shilling I'm going to do. We're going to get back to your regularly scheduled absolute chaos. Okay, let's move on and talk about Chapter Approved Nachmund a little bit. So, as many of you may have noticed, the Chapter Approved Nachmund previews Nephilim. Chapter Approved Nephilim changes previewed this week. So we have seen the new starting CP that has been rumored for a while. So you're going to be starting at 6. Your base Warlord Trait and Relic now cost a CP each to take. And you get 2 or 1 per command phase now instead of 1 per your command phase. So you get a bit more CP regen pre-game, but you're going to be getting a lot less pre-game. And if you want your Warlord Trait and Relic, it's even less. And Anthony's dropping his cheese sticks, and also on mute. So I'm just going to keep talking. We've also seen a few changes, like there's going to be updated faction secondaries and a bunch of other things. But the main thing is we're all really mad about this because the changes are not what we consider good. And now we have a solid 34-minute schedule to be mad about this now.
Yep.
So, okay, Nathan says it's just a bone flu, so we're back up and running at 5. So Nathan will be joining us for the regularly scheduled Rage Hour or half hour. We're going to keep it to a tight 30.
And this is much nicer about this than I'm willing to be. If I wasn't going to WTC, I would be selling a portion of my 40k collection and resubbing to WoW. These changes are
Okay.
awful. What are you doing, GW? Why?
Well, let's do the thing where we are constructive about this. Why is
Yes.
it a bad change?
So, I think in the initial thing that they put out, right? They said that this is, to help with like getting alpha struck and stuff like that, right? And as we kind of laid out a little bit last week, this is the opposite of that. It is my experience as a very aggressive player that the games where my opponent is able to recover from me essentially slamming into them is by spending somewhere in the realm of 6 to 10 CP.
Oh.
Yeah, to between defense, interrupt, and then their response on offense to stop me from just ending the game on the spot. Playing with this now is like I go first, I Forlorn Fury into you. You can't really respond quickly enough, down assets and maybe CP, and then you lose to my turn 2 swing. There's not a lot to be done about that. That's just what happens, because you either have enough CP to respond adequately offensively or to survive it defensively, and not both. And the CP that you
Or
gain,
you just don't have enough CP because
yeah. Essentially what happened is the CP that you used to have in the beginning of the game got put back into turns 3, 4, and 5, which are turns that don't matter in games that happen like that.
yeah, exactly. Like if you're playing against a super heavy alpha list, the game is over on turn 1 and 2.
Yep.
Dan, we'll address that point in a bit, but I'm gonna go with my general thoughts on it first, and then we'll touch on stuff like that. So for me, the thing that I really don't like about the change is that Games Workshop has spent a lot of time since basically Index 8th edition stripping cool abilities off of data sheets and putting them into stratagems. Everything that used to be just like a thing you did is now a stratagem or one of a very limited number of special rules. Most units don't have that many special rules now. It's
Yep.
kind of a weird exception when a unit has a bunch of them. Like Atalan Jackals have 7 special rules, which is a lot of special rules. But then you look at like a Space Marine data sheet and they don't have any. Like they have their detachment stuff for being Space Marines, and that's it. Stuff like there's a stratagem called like data link telemetry for the Whirlwind and the Land Speeder, where if you have a Whirlwind and a Land Speeder, like the Whirlwind can see it, or the Land Speeder can see it, the Whirlwind auto hits, and just like little stuff like that. That all used to just be data sheet abilities in 7th edition. That was just stuff that those units did. Whirlwinds are like a Thunder Arcana used to have alternative fire profiles, one of which was like it slows you down because it applied concussive or some garbage like that. And those all got taken off of the data sheets and put into stratagems. And those were very much trimmed out of the very start of 8th edition. Like all of the index stuff was very, very bland. Like you would see the most iconic stuff would stay on the data sheets. Excuse me 1 second. Like you still saw like Corn Berserkers, Double Fight, and Gene Stealer's Advance and Charge, but that was kind of the limit of it, and everything else went away very broadly. And all of that, as codexes started to come out, was reintroduced to stratagems to add flavor to armies because it became things that you could do but didn't always have. So that's why Double Shoot is a stratagem for Chaos Space Marines, because you couldn't have every unit in the army double shoot, but if one unit got to do it, it was a cool thing you could do.
Right.
What the change now says is that all that cool stuff that used to be things every unit did is now stuff units will never do, because you just have you have so few CP now at the start of the game. If you are assuming that you're going to keep your world trait and you're going to keep your relic, because most people are, you're starting with 4 CP. Turn 1, you're going to get 2 more, and then you're going to get 2 more on turn 2. If you go first, you don't get that second one because you're going to have. So functionally, you'll have 7 CP to work with by start of turn 2, 8 if you go second. Currently, you have 14. So in the generally defining turns of the game of 1 and 2, like obviously there are games where it goes later, you are literally at half the CP, which is half of the amount of cool things you could do, which means that things like flex stratagems and interesting things that you might do occasionally that you used to just, do as a matter of course because it was something that was valuable. It helps you build a small incremental advantage. Is now just stuff you can't do. You will. So just to use the example of Tyranids, every turn of the game, I'm probably going to use Overrun. I'm probably going to use D3 additional attacks for my hive turn, or I'm going to use like reroll wounds depending on the target, like something like that. And I have 2 CP a turn now. I'm going to use those 2 stratagems because they're the best 2 in my book by a wide margin, and everything else that's like a vaguely interesting option just doesn't compete to any of those. There is no reason to use them. So it's completely general, like homogenized the use of stratagems, in my opinion. Like you will just not see, you'll see pregame stuff and you'll see people build their list around 1 or 2 stratagems, and that'll be it. And you'll maybe sometimes not have to use one, and you'll be like, oh, I have like 1 or 2 stratagems I should remember. And if you're a guy who wants to remember 2 stratagems, like fine, I get it. Stratagems are fairly complicated. There's a lot of stuff to remember, but it's not super interesting.
Yeah. The point I was making earlier, just because like this isn't changing how I play that much. This is purely essentially a buff for me because I am super aggressive. I will have now though games where I play against people, and whereas before if they were really good they could have dug out and it would be like a skill check thing, now I will slam into them with stuff, and regardless of their ability to play the game, they lose.
And the same will happen back to you, but I don't think that's a good thing.
But that's a thing that can happen.
Skill expression. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Hot take. There's no such thing as rules bloat. Sorry, you can't memorize 4 pages of stratagems, 2 pages of which you use. You don't need to learn every single person's book. It's not a thing that you need to do, provided that your opponents are at least somewhat above board. Like you do need to know like the general ins and outs of some things, especially if you're at the top end of competitive play. But most players aren't at the top end of competitive play.
I don't think that's strictly true. I definitely think that the game has gotten a lot more complicated, and that is not always a good thing. The game becoming a lot more the game has become a lot more memory based. Even just stuff like you playing as Chaos Knight, you have to remember your opponent's abilities, what they have active, and remember to play around them and stuff like that. Like the new Chaos Knights Codex is more complicated than the previous one. That is a form of rules bloat. I don't think it's necessarily negative rules bloat. Sometimes it's just rules expansion. Like there's just more rules now. I certainly don't think we needed 4 pages of stratagems for every codex, and then also armies of renown and supplements on top of that. Like I think there's definitely an argument that there's too much of that. That's not really the point here. The biggest point is that this is just the death of flexibility in command points, because you'll never run tech warlord traits or relics now because if it's like this will be useful in half my games, you just won't run it because it's 1/7 of your turn 1 and 2 CP to run a tech warlord trait, right? Because you're functionally you're working with 9, right, or 9 or 10, but 2 of them are probably going on your base warlord trait and relic.
This also takes away from your ability to make any form of like beat stick character or anything like that. It might as well just be another unit because you just won't have the resources. Like
this kind of agree with that. Like what it will actually do is it will make people who can take very good double stacks like insane. Like the Tyranid Hive Tyrant, they can just take Reaper of Glitterax and nothing else, and it doesn't really need it. Like you can still build like 2 insane Hive Tyrants in a Tyranids list. I just like okay, you can't interrupt me anymore, and why not?
Because you have to have 2 detachments for that.
Cool. So I will just not run a warlord trait on either Hive Tyrant. I'll run a relic on both of them, and still start with 2 CP.
I don't know. Then you have no neuro, like with anything.
You can start with 1 CP. Like it's fine. These are still options.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like the difference between starting with 1 and starting with 2 is not that big.
That's fair.
You're still going to have an interrupt on turn 1, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know.
The thing that I hate the most about it is that this makes the game way more homogenous. Like people complain about homogeneity already in 40K. Like every Tau list, and we complain about it too, because every Tau list is 18 crisis suits. Every
Tyranid list is one of 3 things.
Is one of 3 things. It's like all you do by limiting the amount of CP by mostly, I think it would even have been okay if you just made the first warlord trait and relic free, and like people would have still had some flexibility to flex into some other stuff because you'd still have 6 CP. It's not a lot of CP, but you could have flexed to do a few different things. But as of now, people are going to pare down their stuff to the absolute bare minimum they need to run efficient lists. And that means they're just going to run the best data sheets in their book, and that's it. Like, you won't see exocrines, you're not going to see maleceptors, you're not going to see tyrannifexes.
You might
see a couple
because they're just data sheets that don't use stratagems, right?
Right.
Like that might be
Like,
you see instead of warriors, because warriors kind of need CP to be functional and defensively.
We might see one unit of warriors, right? Like 1 9-man, and then if it dies, you're a sad panda, but like otherwise it's fine because you can just put stratagems into one thing. But like harpies are going to go up some amount in the new chapter approved probably, and people will still play them because they're still going to be hyper efficient
because they have insane data sheets and they use no stratagems because Encircle the Prey changed, which it should have. Don't get me wrong, but you just end up with this race to the bottom where you don't see cool stuff like the Parasite and Mortrex with Alien Cunning because it's just not worth the relic slot in 80 points. Deathleaper might still cut it because shutting down your opponent's one stratagem a turn is actually pretty useful.
And it's just 1 CP as opposed to 2 because you want the gestation sac or something like that on the Parasite.
Yeah, there's just all of those stratagems that are 2 CP are now. Are you sure? And then you get into things like the Death Guard, like factions.
4 CP stratagem.
No, just like the Death Guard factions don't have a base trait. The only way to differentiate a Death Guard faction now is to spend CP on it. Like there is no differential. Like if you just show up with a Death Guard army and you have not spent any CP pregame, it does not matter which subfaction you picked at all.
Yeah, it's just
I just don't like stuff like that.
The other thing that I have a problem with is like the way secondaries are looking. Like I think some of the secondary stuff is neat. Like they're adding more faction secondaries and they retuned a bunch of them. I just think that GW took like a hammer to fix a problem where they could have used a scalpel.
Then let's talk about CP generation abilities. Which just like doubled in power relative to the game.
Yeah.
Anybody who has a useful either Supreme Commander who gives you CP or gives you free stuff for no CP.
I mean, do we want to talk about Imperial Knights gaining 2 a turn? Yeah. Which now goes to 3. And then through the use of their secondary, they can get to 4 a turn. So Imperial Knights just do whatever the fuck they please.
And also they can take all of their secondaries now because we also found that.
And they have 3 good secondaries.
Did they unhinge the CP limits per turn?
From some stuff, yeah.
Essentially, yeah. And all the stuff for those things all say, like, you may gain additional.
Then you consider stuff like the Tallyman for Death Guard, not the Death Guard are in a good place, but the Thousand Sun Psychic Power, the Grey Knight Psychic Power.
Ow, who get it on a queue.
Yeah, Tau Ethereals.
Trajan's getting a bump as well, like, because he's efficient with multiple Warlord traits. You pay 1 CP.
It gives you the Warlord trait back.
Traits,
you get the CP back from him. Yeah.
Or Gilliman will probably maybe see occasional play because he generates CP. The Silent King will probably see more play because he generates CP.
I think you can also talk about stuff like there's this weird side buff for characters in that you don't have to buy all of their Warlord traits. You don't have to buy the Warlord traits if it sucks now, right?
Yep.
So like you could run Gollum as your Warlord and just not buy him as Warlord trait.
Yeah.
You get your +3 CP. You don't have to take the Nobility Magnifics, which I think is a 12-inch bubble of your stuff can intervene.
Yeah, it's not great.
It's fine, but it's not worth the CP. Dante doesn't have to take Heroic Bearing anymore. There's also like weird questions that start coming in now. Like if I take Mortarion as my Warlord, right? Now, normally, if you take Mortarion as your Warlord, his Warlord trait's a preset, right? Because you have to have Living Plague, Arch Contaminator, and Revoltingly Resilient just on him. And they happen automatically when you put them on the list. If I take 2 characters, one is Mortarion and one is another guy, and I buy Arch Contaminator on another Warlord or another character, does Mortarion can't have it as well, but what's the order pregame? Does Mortarion have to have it if another guy had it first? Like, just shit like that. It's really weird. But like, there's no rule about that, right?
There's some verbiage
there is no
that
order
makes it sound like some of those Warlord traits for some of those characters might cost multiple CP because of old wording for some of those things.
You can only use the stratagem once, so it will never cost multiple. Like Mortarion just currently only gets 1 of them. It's really weird. But my Magnus
that's what I'm talking about.
Like
the
right wording. I'm just
the wording for Mortarion. Yeah, probably. I mean, they haven't fixed other stuff, so why would they fix Mortarion's Warlord trait situation?
I think the broad level is this is an addition level change that's not been thought. I don't think has been applied consistently with the thought of what this does to every other book. This is a huge
Mhm.
change. This is not a. This doesn't feel like it's an. This is the 6-month update change. This feels like this is the 4-year update change.
Yeah,
The
it
10th
feels like an
edition
addition.
change.
Yeah.
It does, without all the other stuff you'd get for an edition, right? So like you don't get changes to detachments, which you probably should have done, because now nobody's ever going to take a spearhead ever again, or a vanguard or an outrider.
Actually,
Those
People will
attachments shouldn't exist, but that's fine.
Right. I mean,
Different
that's fine
topic.
if they're removed from the game, like GW just removed them, is different from them leaving them and being like, well, we took away all your CP, so you can't use these, but you could, but you'd be like down a bunch of CP.
Yeah.
And the only place where you'll
I'm actually
use
still
them is
taking a
in
Vanguard.
narrative.
Yeah,
Oh.
but you're playing Blood Angels. The Space Marine troops are awful. So
Yeah, it's true. They should definitely make them less terrible, but for now,
yeah,
I'm just taking less Warlord Traits and Relic. Like
So-
my Blood Angels list does not have Rites of War in it.
yeah, because you just kind of can't.
I do think that want to see the secondaries because I want to see what all has changed and like because people can now take up to 3 faction secondaries, right?
Yep.
Some
can
factions
take
even have good ones.
Yep.
Yeah.
Imperial Guard has good secondaries now based on the preview today. At least 2 of them where you can probably score 15 on them most games.
I'm really hoping at least one of the Tyranid ones changes to be playable.
That
so
would be
bad.
nice if they had changed them to be playable. Oh, no,
God,
they're not playable.
Could you imagine if
Thank-
any of the Tyranid
thank you,
secondaries had been
Anthony.
good when this codex came out as well?
That would have been hilarious.
I mean, cranial feasting is like maybe fringe the first time you play it into somebody. If
Yeah.
somebody doesn't
But
think
you
about
don't
it
know that
when
they've
they're
not played
pulling
against it
casualty-
before.
Right. You can play it like maybe round 1 or round 2 at like an art. You can play it at an RTT or like round 1 or round 2 at a GT probably, because at those 2 situations you might catch an opponent where they don't.
It's not
consider
worth
that
the
you can
risk.
remove your sergeants first,
Okay, you could play it into exactly and only Thousand Suns
where they need their sergeants
because they need their sergeants. That's it. There
Well,
is
a
no
couple
other.
of armies really juice the sergeants, right? Like Exarchs for Eldar and stuff like that.
Yeah, but if you're killing
don't
the
wanna
Exarch in
lose your
combat, you're
sergeants.
probably winning anyway.
I mean, you have to kill them somewhere.
But that's the problem. Like the Eldar Sergeants are one-shot units, right? They're going to throw out that Shining Spear unit and kill one thing and expect it to die, which means that if you have any smite that you would cast, it now goes to waste because they will just kill the Sergeant because the unit's going to die anyway.
Yep.
So it just like it kind of helps, but it just means your damage output gets wasted.
And yet, like, I don't know. It feels like to me like this change is ill thought out. Like
I would
they
agree.
didn't consider the ramifications of making edition like change 2/3 of the way through an edition. Like this edition's not over, and it's like kind of
feels it.
established at this point for well, yeah, it kind of feels over because the competitive meta
'Cause
has
it
been
sucked for
pretty
18 months. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like the base rules of 9th edition. I dislike some of the balance decisions that have been made around codexes.
We keep being very close to good metas.
I feel like we could get rid of Desperate Breakout again.
I'm game. That sounds awesome.
Why not?
We don't need it.
I mean, a bunch of people are saying we should just become Age of Sigmar, but with more fancier guns.
No, we've just done
problem
that.
with that
We
is
don't
that
have
game
strategies.
Yeah, the problem
Which-
with that is that game sucks.
I mean, the other thing is like, I love the variety that is in 40k because of all the sub-faction stuff, all the detachment stuff, all the relics and warlord traits. And to me, this is removing like a core component of the game that I enjoy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
just
get
so
that not
people
everybody
understand.
likes stratagems, and they're definitely something that's polarizing. I know a lot of, I don't want to say more casual, but more casual players don't enjoy engaging with that part of the game, but it's a core part of the game, and changing it like this has broader implications than I think Games Workshop have considered. But
Mhm.
I also think that they're disingenuously thinking that the game lasts 5 turns.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Like-
I've been hearing people talk about the new rule set being like 2 turns and it's over,
It
which
is.
is the same as it is now, but worse.
There's a
Yeah,
lot
sometimes
more.
sometimes the 2 turns aren't turn 1 and 2, but it is almost always
Right.
2 turns and it's over.
Well, the thing with the game being 2 turns and it's over right now is that there's a lot more agency, right? It's not.
Mhm.
It's not just like, all right, I did a bunch of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
let me
It's
propose a
definitely at the
scenario,
moment it
right?
kind of feels like punch, counter punch, punch, counter punch.
Yeah, and it goes
Um,
back and forth. Let me propose a scenario, right? You're playing in the new thing. Let's assume Tyranids don't change 1,000,000%. Opponent puts, let's call it 40 warriors in mid with the invul imperative up. They move up a unit of 5 of Tyrant Guard. They put a Reaper behind that. They hit the chest clock to you. You have 2 CP. Go ahead.
I hope I'm playing Hail of Doom.
And that you didn't reserve that much.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, if they're not really harpies, I didn't need to.
Sure.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
like,
It's just data sheets, bro. Just
What are
data
you
sheets.
gonna
it's just data sheets. You don't have any. It's like people talk about the Alpha Strike being removed. It's like, but you don't have any defensive stratagems anymore. So if I have efficient enough offensive data sheets, you're just going to lose because you can't turn on any of your defensive stratagems.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to kill you that way.
Cyvern raises a decent point in chat. If you hate the game so much, why are you playing it? I don't hate the game. I am tired of the current meta, where it feels like everything is just piling from broken to broken. But I enjoy playing 40k, and I have all my friends are like, I don't know, almost all of my friends as an adult who works an office job with people who are not my own age. Almost all of my friends are 40k players now. Like, I don't really do much else outside of this. It's kind of sunk cost fallacy at this point. Like I can't really leave. Kind of trapped. But also I enjoy the everything else that goes with it. I enjoy the building, the painting, the meeting up with my friends once a week with a decent excuse to do something that's not just go to a bar. You know, it's productive. It's a healthy output for things. It gets me traveling, and the game itself is generally pretty fun when you're playing in somebody that's on the level. But
Yep.
the level is changing in a way that I don't think is positive, and I think it's important that people understand that the thing that they maybe like. I've seen a decent amount of people think that these are good changes, and I think it's important to express my opinion on that one. And my opinion right now is salty. It's a salty ass bitch.
yeah, I really enjoy the game still, but this is taking a lot of the parts of the game that I've put a lot of time into getting good at and making it just like, dunno, bro, don't need those skills no more. Like a huge portion of playing aggressively is resource management.
There's just less resource to manage now.
Yeah, and both myself and my opponent. And now that neither of us really have to pay attention to that because it's just not going to be there to start with, and it comes back when it comes back. It's just less interesting.
It's
I
a
still enjoy
lot.
the game though.
Yeah, it's a lot more simple when your game plan as a Space Marine player is, I have 2 CP every turn. I'm going to use one to reroll a charge and one to reroll a save. Rather than maybe I'll use adaptive strategy this turn, or I'll use the double sanguinary priest. You'll just run selfless healer because it's 5 CP a game, and you'll just laugh as you bring 5 models back, and that's you don't spend CP on anything else.
Yeah,
I mean, I actually want to say that I kind of hate this question, mostly because it's like I can enjoy something and dislike things that are changing about it without
I hate the game so much. I spend
hating it.
10 hours a week planning and preparing and talking and being on a podcast and running a WTC team.
We create lots of
and
content and do a fuck ton of work for it. And honestly, I think that this question is entirely meant to just dismiss people being upset with changes. And I dislike it for that reason. So it's like, I can think that something needs to change and that's like me wanting something to move in a positive direction. Like, there are lots of things that I wish would change. I don't hate them. I wish that they would change because I like them and want them to change so that I like them more. So I dislike this question for like framing somebody else's argument as being less worthwhile, because why don't you just leave is not something that I don't want to just leave 40k. Like, I have a lot of friends who play 40k.
We'd rather
like
you didn't too, just because I can't do that stuff.
Oh, sorry.
I actually like you, Nathan, but Innes is right. We also can't
met
do
you.
That.
We talk like all the time on the internet, but I understand. Me and Anthony are just going to rub it in your face that we're together in Seattle.
We're going to do the same thing in the inverse at LVO or at WTC. So
I know
Nathan's going to LVO, isn't he?
I'm coming to LVO. I bought my ticket.
We're all going to be LVO. Okay, Dan asks, what's different with this change than any other major change in the game, such as addition changes and MFM or mission pack changes?
There is a huge difference between what was the one?
It's not different to an edition change. This is like,
it's about,
I would call this like a 9.5 edition rather than like a 10th edition. But this definitely feels like the Space Marines Codex release where the thing, everything just changes. because like you can kind of split Space Marine or like 9th or 7th edition into pre and post Jokurian detachments, and you can split 8th edition into pre and post Space Marines Codex. I kind of feel like pre and post CP changes feels like what that could be for this. Obviously, we'll need to see the actual changes and the impact of it. Maybe we're all being hyperbolic and it'll all be fine. I will still play 40k. I will probably still be pretty good at it after these changes. I don't really like. Ultimately, this is not going to affect much outside. Like the top players are still going to win games, and the top armies are still going to win games. What they are will change, and what I think they are is not going to change for the better.
Yeah, I just don't think it's net healthy.
I think it's good to also realize that like the only platform we have to make meaningful change in 40k is to talk about it as content creators, right? That's the only way that we have a platform with which to try to make meaningful change. Like I've emailed GW with spreadsheets to try to fix the meta. I've talked to Kiri. We've talked to people. Like we've worked on trying to find avenues to like be like, hey, GW, there are ways that you could meaningfully make change that would make the game healthier and better overall. And part of it is just over time, we do get tired of seeing like not a lot of changes and then seeing a change that we didn't ask for necessarily to fix a problem that we didn't think the game had.
Yeah, this
while
is
ignoring kind of the problems we had with other spaces in the game and other things that are part of the game that needed to be changed to make the game experience better for people.
Yeah, this is very much a solution looking for a problem, it feels like.
Yeah, I think there's a very real aspect of the players who win tournaments are still going to win the same tournaments they were always winning. That's not going to change. Nothing about the fact that Anthony is going to X and 1 every tournament he goes to, and
it's true. Except for the major I won this year and the GT before that. If we ignore those,
Innes is like, how can I make this into a backhanded compliment as much as possible?
Yeah,
to
Innes will still win events he lost
at. Yeah, you're not as good as me. You can't win majors you lose games at.
That's true. I've not got that talent down. We really cut down on the participation trophy thing over here.
I don't know, man. Don't you guys do brackets that let people who are 3 and 1 into the top bracket?
I don't know. That's Tyler.
Well, no, because he didn't make it, did he?
No, he didn't.
17th, wasn't he?
Unlucky.
Yeah, the basic gist is what this will change is
right.
it will change.
Wow, Frontiers coming in with a burn on us instead of in the reverse direction is a new thing.
All this is going to change is the play experience, and the play experience is all we can talk about this, because players who are bad are not going to become better because there are less CP in the game, and players who are good are not going to become worse because there are less CP in the game. There will probably be a couple of exceptions. There will be a couple of people who this really jives with, and who really don't get this, and they'll fall off. Fine. Right. I hope I'm not one of them. That would really
would help if Frontiers people actually had a positive win rate ever,
or a podcast that was worth listening to.
Damn. I love that you just like leaped off of my back into the perfect dunk, Innes. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, this will not change that Frontiers can't win events, and it will not change
Dude,
that Alex can only play against sheep. Oh, yeah. I was gonna say he only plays sheep.
Yeah, I feel like we've definitely gone off the rails a little bit here. Anyway, the broad strokes of this is, I think the changes will homogenize the things you see in lists in a way that is not interesting, in a way that will reduce competitive diversity, and just overall be a little bit sad. I feel like you can't go an entire edition of making all the cool stuff into stratagems and warlord traits and relics, and then say, okay, now you can't play with those anymore. And then expect people to react to that positively.
All right, let's get this out of the way. No. No, it doesn't do this. It does the opposite. Because you don't often in the game, when you're set up to do damage, need a bunch of stratagems to enable that. It is usually just a data sheet thing.
Yeah, or you need 2 CP for your big combo,
right?
That you have set up pre-game. Like you might need the Eldritch Storm, or you might need the, your Tyrant runs in and pops reroll wounds and overrun to F off out. But that is generally a lot cheaper than defensive stratagems are. Defensive stratagems are generally very expensive in 40k or very limited. And yeah, they're reactionary, which means that you only have to use them if your opponent commits. But it's a lot easier to force your opponent to commit to using a defensive stratagem without using stratagems yourself.
Yep.
Like your entire combo as an Oathway army, like if you're going to play Oathway for some bizarre reason, is just 2 CP for linked fire. Like that's all you really have to spend. A lot of alpha is built into things like the Iron Hands Devastator doctrine, or Tyranids popping the exploding sixes on a key turn, or Fate
Just having
Dice
the
for
data sheet
Eldar.
that they do.
Or just having a strong data sheet and psychic
Yeah.
powers.
Dude.
And when you go second, the way you mitigate that is CP. And if you have less of those, mitigation is worse, and then counterpunch is worse.
Yeah.
Because
And
you have
even-
less stuff to counterpunch with.
Even the like taking this a step further, like going into like some old experience on my end, like Drukhari, right? All of their gas for the most part is tied to auras, 1 or 2 stratagems that you'll definitely have plenty of stuff for, and just like charging you with like 11 units on turn 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
just
now-
don't get to respond to that.
Interrupting is 25% of your CP pool, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a
like
lot
if you want to
different-
pop a defensive stratagem on one unit to keep it alive and then interrupt on another one, that is all of your starting CP on like if you bought a World Trader Alec.
Yep.
or more if you decided to buy more than one of something, right?
Yep.
Where you better hope that first you had 3 CP in that first turn. If you didn't go first, you have
Or even
more
that
CP
second
to
turn
go.
if you went second.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like
And-
you're gonna have to math out your path to victory very clearly in advance, and
if
then you're gonna have to
ever wrong-
include 2 different plans, and you have no room for error at all. Like that, yeah. Like Anthony just said, you can lose by making one incorrect decision. There's no buffer for you to make mistakes.
And for in some ways, that's interesting. Like I kind of like the idea of having to play better, but
I think you're going to have just as many feel bads as you do now. The difference is if you make that mistake, you're just not going to have a buffer to deal with that mistake. So like,
or
if somebody
you'll have
hits you,
way too much buffer because your lust generates too many CP. You just generate so many CP.
Actually,
We'll end
this
up
is
back in.
This is a good perspective that we just don't have, right? Because none of us play armies this deep in the bracket. This. Nope. This.
Also good points from the other two, but
right, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking as someone who just had to rebuild my CP hungry guard list, I can still alpha. I'm just way less dynamic with the rest of the list. Yeah.
There's nothing fun or interesting in it anymore, is the follow-up comment.
You run the efficient stuff and your combo, and that's it.
And that's it.
Yeah. It's really, really unfortunate the way they've just stripped you down.
Yeah, the way I'm going to build Tyranid list now, assuming that not much changes, I am going to run the CP I need to support my Tyrant doing whatever the F it wants with every CP on my list, and then everything else will be data sheets.
Yeah.
And if for some reason I don't need them, I might chuck a CP reroll or Shardler here and there. But those are afterthought CP. They are not my strategy anymore. They will never be my strategy.
I will say this will help me personally in one way, is that I can never, out of hubris, throw a CP reroll at something anymore. Because I have definitely made bad mistakes by throwing a CP reroll at something and then realizing later that I needed it. So I'll just never be able to do that anymore. So that works for me. I'll be playing better just because of that.
Could one last one I want to do before we'll sign off. I think the fix they should have done, remove the Patrol Outrider Vanguard detachments and swap the cost of Brigade and Patrol. And that would have been fine. Brigade goes to 2, Patrol goes to 4. Because you should pay for the flexibility, not the slots. The way you have it at the moment is you pay for slots. You should pay for the flexibility that a Patrol gives you. If Patrols were 4, you would see so many less of them. You would probably run battalions, and that introduces troop taxes and blah, 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 blah. You'd have to run double battalion or patrol battalion or any one of a million things. Battalion should be the base attachment, not patrols. Patrols at 2 CP invalidated that. This has been a patrol edition, almost exclusively.
Yeah.
And I think that's inherently a bad thing. And that's probably the biggest problem I've had with 9th edition since the start. I banged that drum on day 1, and people were like, no, Brigade should be more expensive because you get more slots. I'm like, but you're just never going to take a Brigade then.
Yeah, you don't care because I'm not buying 3 fast attack choices in Drukhari. Leave me alone.
Yeah, exactly.
You might now.
What if everything was 3 CP? Then you'd be playing a bad codex like Chaos Demons.
Yeah, I was thinking. I was thinking back to when I
vibe checked so hard.
They did. You know all those exalted traits and tables. You're just not using those anymore.
No, you are. You're just accepting that you start with 0.
Yeah, just
You don't get to warp surge anymore.
just don't play demons. Stop it. Get some
Yeah,
help.
saying that's what I would have said. 8 starting CP, free Warlord Train Relic. I would have been fine.
Hmm.
6 I'd have taken, but I would have been upset about it. 4, which is what we basically have now, I'm just straight up unhappy.
Yeah, they had a lot of opportunities to do this in a way that could have been more interesting, and by like putting a strangle on our resources, but they didn't.
Yeah.
I also really, by the way, just like a side note, really hate that they took Stranglehold out. I get that it was 2 auto, but it made people play the game,
Yeah,
which was cool.
Go back to domination. It was fine.
Yeah,
I
sure.
think it was the way when the phase that it scored was a little bit weird sometimes.
Yeah,
Like it
you
promoted just
could have moved it to
trading
end
on
of battle
objectives
round.
repeatedly. Like you could just. Does that make sense?
I would have
Like,
moved I think you could have moved it to end of battle round or start of your turn.
Sure. I do think To the Last being gone is a good change overall.
Yeah, To the
because
Last
people
being gone
can't
is fine.
solitaire as
Nobody's
much.
going to complain about that.
I will
Like, and I'm
be
not mad
sad.
about Stranglehold being gone. I'm not. I think they could have tuned it so that it would have been like not an auto 15 every time for you, which they seem to have been able to do with like a bunch of other stuff by capping it essentially at 12.
I will say them taking out Stranglehold and then giving a bunch of factions Stranglehold was like, yeah.
I don't disagree
okay.
with you, Anthony. I'm
Sam
gonna be
Martin
honest.
says, I feel that the game holding a gun to your head to force you to take 15 Space Marine Scouts speaks about a deeper issue that its troops should be useful and worth taking all of their own. Every aura that is Rights of War was a mistake that should never have
Yep.
happened.
Yep.
Ever. OBSEC should have been a troops only thing basically constantly. The more interesting way to do it was like how Crusher Stampede did it, where you become equal to wounds, but just don't give out OBSEC with that. Like monsters can be equal to the wounds count, but they don't get OBSEC. Armigers can have it. That's like it because the army doesn't have troops. And then it could be like Deathwings thing, and that's like pushing it. And then everything past that, too much. But the inherent issue is that Space Marine troops are crap. Like they don't do anything. Like why would you bother?
Just make intercessors 15 points. Like
or make them good.
They can't. It just can't happen because then it'll encroach on their elite choices. Then you won't take them because they have OBSEC. It's the Death Company Intercessor versus Assault Intercessor problem. Who gives a shit about the extra attack? You lose OBSEC.
Yeah, Vanguard Veterans just do it
Mark
better.
Murphy actually asks a good question as well.
Yep.
Where it's, what do you think about adjusting starting CP by army to adjust for poor win rates, similar to the bounty system in Age of Sigmar? I'm not 100% sure how the bounty system in Age of Sigmar works, but I assume you just get extra CP if
you get bonus victory points for killing certain units.
Yeah, it's. Okay. I actually hate the bounty system because you get to continue to lose by no additional points.
I think there's a better way of doing it is you just give people extra points in their list. Like sometimes
I think CP is probably a more interesting way to do it than that because it means at least that your core units don't change when you get a balance update. Like if the balance update come out and you was like you're plus 100 points, you don't have to build paint new units. If you lose 100 points, you have to change stuff out.
Yeah, if you just got an extra CP, it'd be like, oh, cool.
Yeah, you get an extra CP. It's just another thing you can do. I think it would probably work, but there's kind of diminishing returns on it where the punishment gets real punitive real quickly. Like if you go down from 6 to 5 to 4, man, does going from like even 6 to 5 hurts a lot. Going from 8 to 9 if you're guard at the moment, who cares?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Like I'm pretty sure you could leave guard at 12 and I still wouldn't be scared of them right now. Maybe their new stratagems or maybe the new things are good. All right. We're going to take the last one, which will be Severan's question about, do you think a good solution for the troops problem is to make them very competitive in points? No, I think a good solution for the troops problem would have been to make them competitive in general. Like, you see armies take a lot of troops. Like, the dichotomy between hybrid metamorphs and acolyte hybrids in Gene Circles is actually pretty interesting because hybrid metamorphs do a lot more damage, but acolytes hold objectives better, can take heavy weapons. Like, that's the kind of trade-offs you have to make where they're actually interesting, where there has to be a reason for you to want to take one or the other depending on the situation.
Well, you used to see Drakari, right?
Yeah, exactly. Drakari run a bunch of troops because their troops are really good, but there is also reason to not run the troops, and that's where interesting list choices come in. Why would you? What are you running an intercessor for other than command points?
Yeah,
like if you want to hold ground, you take servitors or company vectors or landspeed or storms for half the price. If you want to kill things, why on earth would you take intercessors?
You shouldn't.
Chaos Space Marines have the same issue. Like, you want to run a Chaos Space Marine or do you want to run a Possessed? Or then you look at Death Guard, who I think actually have a fairly interesting choice where you have, do you want to run a lot of Poxwalkers or do you want to run Cultists, which are a bit cheaper but get ability to do actions? Or do you want to run, not Plague Marines, because Plague Marines, again, are just too expensive and they're Space Marines. Or do you want to run a bunch of Terminators, which have a much more resilience, but you get fluffier bodies, they don't hold ground as well. Like, creating those interesting choices where there's actually a valid reason to run, I'm going to do this again. Tyranids, I think at the moment, actually, you have a really cool choice. Do you run loads of warriors, or do you run a few, but just enough to, like, juice the rest of your army? Is actually a fairly interesting choice. Yes, Tyranid warriors are too, so is the rest of the codex. So it kind of, on the internal balance level, it's kind of interesting. Like, 27 warriors is a list that showed up. So is 3.
Yep.
And I think that's where you should be looking at, where Tyranid warriors do a thing, but they're not super specialized. That's almost probably the best way to do it, is to have them be very generalist units, and then everything you want to go outside of troops is super specialist. But Space Marines can't do that because they have 3,005 data sheets, 17 of which are just different tactical Marines.
Just squat firstborn.
I agree with you, actually. Or just fold them in. Like, fold them in somehow.
Just make Devastators and Assault Marines this part of the tactical squad.
Just fold it all in. Like, just squat firstborn. Give me a Primaris Assault unit and be done. Enough.
Yeah, that's the theory of the tactical Marine, but Zane has said that's the theory of the tactical Marine, is that they're the all-rounder generalist option. The problem is they're not an all-rounder generalist option because their shooting's bad and so is their combat.
Right.
Like, a tactical Marine would have to be good at those things, and they're not. Intercessors were, like, almost there for a little bit in 8th edition, which is why you actually saw Intercessor builds, because Intercessors were genuinely kind of threatening into the kinds of things that were good in 8th edition.
Mm-hmm.
But that's before the killing power of the game just wrapped around. Yeah, do we want to call it there? We'll take like a 5-minute break. Do you want to transition to
lightning round questions? I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to run and grab a drink. Do you want to close us out while I go and grab a drink?
Sure, I can close this out and talk through some of the Charity Hammer stuff real quick, I suppose.
And then we'll be back. So Nathan is going to close us out and do the Charity Hammer spiel. I did a mini one while you guys were gone. And then we'll be taking a quick break and back for the bonus round at 1:45.
This will take just a second, guys, while I pull up my Charity Hammer spiel, and then I'll close this out. So thank you, everybody, for watching this week's episode of Fight Club. That's Fight Club episode 18. I'd trade my legs for command points. You can find us on Patreon. What, Anthony? You can find us on Patreon on the Best in Tabletop Network, where you can support us on the network and join our Discord, where you can have awesome discussions with me, Innes, and Anthony, and with all the other people who make content for the Best in Tabletop Network. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube, where you'll get access to the next part of the show, the bonus round, where we answer questions from the Discord and also from the chat. Otherwise, you can catch us live on Tuesdays, and you can watch us answer these questions live, which will be great fun. Now I need to find my actual post about Charity Hammer, which is taking me a lot longer than I thought it was going to, because that's just how it works. So Charity Hammer is next week. It is June 23rd through the 26th, with basically 24 hours of streaming content every day. So there will be a grand tournament with a bunch of amazing players in it, including Anthony and John Lennon and Sean Naden, and then me, and a bunch of other names from the Best in Tabletop Discord or network as well. There will also be 3 or 4 RTTs. There's going to be a losers bracket RTT. There's going to be a best Norn Queen RTT for all the Tyranid players who are there. There's going to be a Orc War Boss RTT for all the Orc players who are coming. Then there's going to be a worst list RTT, which will be at the very beginning of the event. And this is all being done for Child's Play, which is a game industry charity dedicated to improving the lives of children and teens in children's hospitals around the world. Child's Play currently has a network of over 180 children's hospitals nationwide and almost nearly 200 domestic violence shelters across the United States. Every single dollar that we receive will be donated to Child's Play. We don't take any of that money home. We don't pay any of our bills with it. We're all fronting all of our bills in order to both fly and stay for Charity Hammer. You can donate it to us at the donate.tiltify link that will be down in the description of this podcast episode. Grand prizes for this one will be a $1,200 gift certificate to Hammerhead Games. They will ship if you win it. Number 2 grand prize will be Sean Naden will commission paint an army for you. All you need to do is provide the models and he'll make it look great. If you go to the Warhammer competitive Reddit, or if you check out www.charityhammer.com, you can find a post with a description of that, along with all the other prizes that we've got. And there are still more prizes being added to the prize list. And then how you win prizes is for every $30 that you donate to us, you will get a raffle ticket, and we will call raffle prizes throughout. There's also a link on that post to a survey, which will also be in this description of this episode, where you can fill out a survey to answer some questions for us about the community and about factions in the community, and we'll talk about them during the event as well. And you can also win $200 of store credit through that survey. So thank you, everybody. Please watch us during Charity Hammer. We'll probably talk next week about our experiences at the Best in Tabletop Open, and we'll talk about Charity Hammer some more. So thank you, everybody, for watching, listening, and participating, and I hope you all have a wonderful week.